For context, we're both in our later 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelities, and she eats up true crime about spouses killing their cheating partners too. She just says something about it makes her morbidly fascinated, in her words. Well, a couple months back we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple in the neighborhood divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, be it a baby shower or cookout, she would bring it up hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled on the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning and I found a massive bulletin board facing away, leaned up against the wall. Curiosity got the better of me and I turned it around to find a literal fucking conspiracy board of all our neighbors' pictures with lines of yarn connecting each other like the fucking Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked what this was, and she told me it was a hobby she had started recently where she would track rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images on Facebook or some social media and printed them out and even had a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane, and she said maybe if I was doing it as a man, but she is just having harmless fun as a hobby and she wouldn't be crazy and try to oust anyone based on rumors. She just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it like a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out, but let it go, or tried. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then I admit to checking the board when cleaning, but just a couple days ago I looked to see that now I was on the board with a yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I'm casual friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said if it makes me feel better she was planning on adding herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kind of lost my temper about it. I told her to get rid of the board or our marriage will be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. Sorry for the long post, I am starting to feel bad and it hit me more than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no, I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was, because it would at least make more sense than this. Ada? Update 1, Sept 5, 2024. Anyway. Jesus Christ. Firstly, appreciate all of the concern and NTAs. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I think it is a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later. 2 days later. Shit hits the fan. Our happily married next door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that does not belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down for joy. She shows me the board, which she still didn't trash like she promised, and of course the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there and I swore it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point, or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husbands to ask a few questions. The wife was staying at her parents', so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually did it and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said one day while you were at work his wife asked her to water a plant they had while they were both away and told her where the key was, so yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra and he was getting nervous and told me not to get the wrong idea. I said don't worry. He still had the bra and I looked at it. It was my wife's, but one I knew she almost never wore because it was from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas she said was uncomfortable. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife and ran out, but I told him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played stupid, but I told her to cut the BS. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there, either way she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid or something. I flipped on her. I said this was worse than her cheating on me because instead of ruining just our marriage she ruined our neighbors and ours. I demanded she call the wife and admit to everything, even sending pictures of the board. I even showed the Reddit post which actually helped convince her my wife had planted it rather than cheated with her husband. Well, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I am barely speaking to my wife and it is only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood figures this out. I seriously need advice. Update 2, November 12, 2024. It's been months since last update. Sorry, I've been busy. Long story short, My wife is in a mental health facility. After what had happened previously, I did not speak to my wife for a while. I tried to stay working or out of the house as often as I could. Well, a few weeks passed and time made it seem like less and less of a big deal. Finally, my wife offered to take me out to a very nice dinner to make things up to me. She told me everything was behind her, and while I was avoiding her, she had actually started online therapy to get help and realized now what she did was wrong. I really believed her and we had a great night. One thing led to another that night and yay lol. It took about 2 days after that for her to get a pregnancy test and she texted me the positive result. Yeah, I know some of you already think I'm an fucking moron, but it had been a rough year and this made me really happy. I started getting very excited. We started talking about turning my home office to a baby room, looking up ways to prepare, booking appointments, planning a shower, etc. A really fun but whirlwind week. Unfortunately, she told me the first ultrasound was at a time I had to be at work and she would have to go alone. Really bummed me out and I asked her to reschedule, but she said it was the only availability. Well, that next week she went and I waiting for an update or pictures or anything. Nothing. She came home and was super quiet and I flipped out and got super worried that the worst had happened. I told her I understood she was probably in a lot of pain about something, but she had to tell me. She finally admitted no, it wasn't a miscarriage. But she was actually pregnant for longer than she thought, longer than the last time we did it. She actually got pregnant during the time I was avoiding her. Obviously I was so mad and upset and I couldn't understand why she would do this to me, but then I realized all the signs were there for so long and all the comments telling me she was probably cheating was right. But I tried to keep a clear head for at least a second because I really love my wife and I couldn't believe it. I asked her who it could have been and she actually said she didn't know. She said she hadn't done it with anyone during the time I was avoiding her. She swore it and also didn't know what this meant. I thought about it and realized if she was really pregnant for that long, her tummy should be showing and it wasn't. I decided to call the place and ask them to confirm what they said. My wife told me it would be a waste of time and she promised she heard them clearly, so I didn't do it that night. But I couldn't sleep that night without hearing it from the doctors myself. I called the clinic she told me she went to the day before in the morning and asked them to confirm the results. They told me something worse than I expected. She had no visit, she was never there. I didn't understand that at all. Before I talked to my wife again, I did what I should have done in the first place and reverse image searched the pregnancy test image. Yeah, it was on Google from a random years old Facebook post. I was again really mad at my wife and couldn't believe she would put me through all this. I confronted her about the picture and that I called the place and there was no appointment. I told her she had a pattern of lying and this was probably the end of our relationship. But she responded in a way I didn't expect. She burst into tears and went manic, which I did expect, but then said that she really had cheated on me and really was pregnant and that I had made this up in my head because I couldn't face what she did to me. She said she felt like the devil and Hitler and started sobbing and literally screaming at the top of her lungs. She locked herself in the bathroom and told me she was going to kill herself over what she did to me. I couldn't get the door open and freaked out. I called the cops and they broke the door down. She was not hurt, but she was really out of it. They took her to get a mental evaluation and she told them everything there. She even started mixing in stuff about the board and how she knew everyone around her was a cheater, so she had done the same because she was in an evil place. She promised them she was pregnant, but she didn't know who the father was. They tested her while in custody and no pregnancy at all. They told me she was likely suffering from a form of schizophrenia and actually genuinely believed that she was saying, and likely always had to some level, but it seemed to be getting worse. They said she had a symptom called self-accusation and needed help. Well, I got her in a facility last week and she is safe. They are making a little progress. I do not think she thinks she is pregnant anymore. I have visited a few times, but she is very withdrawn with me and says she feels too guilty to look me in the eye. I think there was definitely meddling at certain parts like planting evidence, but now I just feel terrible I did not get her the help she needed when all the real signs were there. I hope her medication starts to help and she can be normal again. And yeah, the neighborhood gossip is having a field day with all this. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this is my last update. Thanks for all the help. Next story, I'm a nanny of a kid and he acts like a baby, sleeps with his parents, and spies on me through my window. I thought it was cultural, but this behavior creeps me out. So I am from the US and recently moved to Italy to nanny. I feel this is important because so far I have not been able to tell if I'm struggling with a cultural difference here in Italy or if I actually have reason to be weirded out. It is easy to tell that the son, Dario, is in middle school, as he is already several inches taller than me and his mom, and is maybe 30 pounds on me. When I first got here, Some of the stuff that freaked me out a little I could handle, and I chalked it up to being an Italy thing. This includes stuff like talking almost exclusively in a baby voice when addressing his parents, calling his parents mommy and daddy, fighting physically with his little sister over who gets to sit on mom and dad's lap multiple times throughout the day, fighting with the sister over who gets to sleep with the parents, getting extremely upset when mom or dad leaves for the day, and whining about not getting enough kisses or time laying in bed kissing with mom, and having his parents blow on chewed food in his mouth because it's too hot. Now I really don't want to be critical of this if it's normal here, you know? But in the US I seriously can't imagine a single 7th grade boy engaging in any of these behaviors, so it's really new to me. And really it hadn't affected me, so I just let it be. The problem is though that now I'm starting to get involved and it's making me really uncomfortable. For example, our rooms have adjacent windows which allows the kids to see into my entire room at all times. To me, this is pretty inappropriate. What am I supposed to do when I need to change clothes? But I also don't want to seem like I am sexualizing children or accusing them of anything, so I just politely asked for curtains and took to changing in the bathroom. After weeks without curtains, the family finally promised me that someone was coming to put them up. Well, he only put them in the kids' room. Ever since then I find Dario peeping through the curtains at me multiple times a day. Now I'm sure he is just checking on me or curious about what I'm up to, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell the family though because I'm afraid they would think I was accusing their baby of trying to spy on me changing, so I just took matters into my own hands and hung a blanket up over my window. Another issue has been when we stay at the kids' grandparents' house. There is a room for the parents, with a bed for one child, and a room for me with a bed for one child. I figured we would split up boys and girls and I would stay with the daughter, but nighttime rolls around and Dario is crawling into the bed next to mine. I was so uncomfortable I could hardly sleep. I have talked to my friends at home about this and they all think it's really weird, because we aren't related and he's a teenager now. But this is of course an American opinion, so I can't tell for sure if we're imposing our ideas on this family. Again, if this is really a cultural thing though, I don't know how to tell the family that where I am from, it's kind of inappropriate for a boy so old to be sleeping next to me, especially when he's been spying on me lately, without causing issues. Of course these behaviors affect other aspects of our life as well, as it is hard to get Dario to do anything because he usually claims it's too hard to do. Making a bed at 13? Too hard? Are you kidding? And I often find myself wanting to tell him to grow up. What I need help with is knowing whether he does need to grow up or if all this behavior is normal here and I am the crazy American that needs to adjust. Is this behavior normal for a 12-year-old, or is it immature? I feel like the parents still really see him as a young child, and usually he acts like it, but for the most part it seems like he plays up the baby act because he knows it makes his parents cater to him more. If this all is abnormal, does anyone have any suggestions about how to bring this up to the family? Edit. Just want to clarify that at the grandparents' house there are 2 beds, and they are next to each other. Dario was not in my bed but in the bed next to mine. Comments where Op has replied, the freaky, it's normal behavior for a spoiled 13-year-old. Of course most adolescents would want to peek at you through the curtains. The problem is the parents, they have to stop that shit right now. Don't you have authority as a nanny to scold him? I'm Spanish, we have a very similar culture to Italy, and that shit is inappropriate. The parents are educating a horrible child that will grow up to be an asshole that thinks the world should cater to him. Oop. Oh my goodness, the relief I am feeling right now to know that this isn't normal. So far I have not particularly felt like I have much authority because the times I would scold him, the parents are sitting right there, and how can I reprimand him in front of his own parents? I didn't include this in the post, but he is already showing major signs of being an asshole. He is always so rude, critical, and ungrateful. Every meal I make he has something to insult about it. He treats his little sister like shit even though she is a doll and often acts more mature than him, and he loves ordering me around and telling me what I'm doing wrong. It drives me up the wall. B186, we've established this kid's behavior is weird. But WTF at the parents responding to your request for privacy/curtains by giving them to the child? Oop, I have no clue. They've been really weird about some stuff. Like, this is TMI, but the mom knew I was on my period because I had to ask her where to buy tampons here, and we get to the house and there's no trash can in the bathroom or in my room. I asked for one multiple times and she said she would get one and never did, and when I asked last she said well the kids have a trash can in their room if you need it. Like WTF, are you not an adult woman? Do you not understand how this works? Update. Hi all. I'm back. Yeesh, how long has it been? 3 to 4 months later with an update. Long story short, I quit. Here's the long version for those interested. The curtain issue, like I said in my last post, I had just hung a blanket for privacy and since then there have been no peeping issues. I asked 2 more times for curtains and was reassured both times that the curtain man would come to hang them in my room. He did come back once and hung more curtains in the kids' room, but again not in mine. Then I was told that they didn't like him and would be finding another curtain guy to hang my curtains. It's been 4 months, no more mention of it. I still use the blanket. The vacation issue, I have simply refused to go on vacation with them. I'm off on weekends and I've reached a point where I just refuse to be home for the entire weekend and manage not to see them from Friday night until Monday morning if I can help it. I go on weekend trips, crash on couches, sneak into my room when they're eating. Things like that just to avoid seeing anyone on my days off. The Dario issue, Dario still acts extremely immaturely. I've warmed up to him a lot, and I've figured out how to cut his rudeness and such. He's become a lot more positive and kind, especially because his mom has been gone a lot and he's with me every day. I'm very upbeat and have worked really hard to get him to socialize and speak kindly. Unfortunately, he seems to have almost regressed in terms of the childish behavior. He still sits on laps, kisses a lot, and sleeps with a parent when the other is gone. The baby talk is constant. For example, he loves to repeat back butchered syllables of words if that makes sense. Like his dad will say "Pasami un cuchillo," pass me a spoon, and he will clap and exclaim "Ayo." Or "Voy de l'agua?" Do you want water? And he'll go "Quay quay." He also has started eating kind of like a baby too. Like he'll take the remaining tomato sauce that we used on pasta and use the giant spoon to drink it out of the pot and get it all over his face, and then suck on each of his fingers. But when I look at his parents, they're looking at him like when you see a cute baby trying to use a fork and getting food on his face. But he's 13, so it's honestly sickening to watch and listen to. He won't lock the door when he goes to the bathroom or showers. Why? I started locking the door when I was like 7, and he even cried the other day when his sister sat on the foot of his bed. He doesn't like things touching his bed. And guess what? The parents got mad at the daughter, said it was her fault for baiting him. She just had to tie her shoe for a second, and declared that it's her fault. Dario will be upset all night. He also hasn't made any progress with friends, and has taken to playing League of Legends, so he won't leave his room or do any activities or lessons with me or the sister. It's pretty sad, honestly. Basically, the hardest part of this whole thing has been the mother. I won't even go into it here, but she's honestly clinically insane, and I feel so bad for all the people in this house that have to put up with her. She's just a power-hungry, jealous, bitter woman who needs to see a professional. Basically, I went home for Christmas to be with my friends and family and realized how bad this experience was for my health. I was going out drinking almost every night to escape the house. I was sleeping horribly because I knew she was here and her presence gave me awful anxiety. I was getting yelled at every day even when I did nothing wrong. I was at home in these states and the thought of going back made me absolutely miserable. So when I came back, I told them I needed to go back early for medical reasons, not totally untrue, and now I'm set to leave the last week of March. They've found a new girl. Look out for her post here sometime in the future.